You're still watching Politics HQ right here on News Central. Nigerians are still dissecting and even digesting the events of the presidential elections as well as the governorship elections. And opposition parties are taking their challenges of the results to court. We are now able to talk to the APC's governorship candidates in the state, Tonye Cole, who will give us an update on the latest. Dr. Samson Osage is still with me, and Dr. Jide Johnson, unfortunately, has had to leave us. But Mr. Cole, so as we understand, just a few minutes ago, you were meeting with state officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission on your request for the certified true copies of the documents relating to the BVAS machines and, of course, the results for the elections in Rivers State. What updates can you give us?
Well, thank you. So I had to come to Abuja, where I presently am, to go to the INEC headquarters in Abuja to press for the CTCs. Thankfully, the chairman of INEC, as at yesterday, had come onto the matter. I believe the incidents in Port Harcourt now becoming a national issue. The chairman of INEC came on, and all commissioners of the institution are now looking at this process, and they have assured me that the CTCs will be ready. The ones in Abuja will be ready to be picked up tomorrow, and the ones in Port Harcourt, they're doing everything possible to ensure they release it and calm the situation.
Because there is a deadline in play, and I know you've spoken about the pressure of that deadline being Friday for the 21 days. So Abuja's officials are assuring you you'll pick it up tomorrow, and Rivers officials are saying that you should get them as soon as possible. Does that put your mind at ease that you will be able to file in your petition, your counter petition, or rather your contestation of the results as you should on time?
Yes, it does. It puts me in a better position than I was yesterday, and a much better position than I was on Friday. And so right now, I know that thanks to all of you in the media putting a lot of spotlight on Rivers State, what has happened now is the REC and the head of departments of legal, adminsec, legal, everyone in Port Harcourt is now firmly on this project. And incidentally, it's a simple project. It's like I've always said, what we're asking for is not outside of the ordinary. It's certified true copies of documents that represent the election in Rivers State. Simple, very, very simple. And everyone is entitled to this.
So, Dr. Osage, I'm coming back to you because earlier before Mr. Cole joined us, we talked about sort of the sentiment and the atmosphere around Rivers State as it is right now. But he has said that Abuja has guaranteed or has said they will give him documents tomorrow, and Rivers is working at it. But should we be seeing a situation where candidates will, in a situation, basically have to report state resident electoral officials or state INEC officials to their superiors in order to get what should be their due? He's a candidate, he participated, he's entitled to these documents. Should we be seeing a situation where he has to go and report them to the superiors?
Well, like I said, it's a challenge for both INEC and security agencies in Rivers State. And no candidate should be made to go through that process. If it happens, then it is an aberration that such will happen because it will eventually amount to a denial of the right of the litigant to be able to access materials by which he wants to prosecute his case. And this is so for all those who contested the election. Not only those who are even seeking to have the court look into the election. So I believe that the challenge is actually that of INEC and the security agencies in Rivers State, and having to put the candidates through that process is very uncalled for and is most unfortunate.
So, Mr. Cole, you are in Abuja now, but you also have spoken about the fact that your lawyers, party lawyers for you, were arrested just a few days ago, taken while you were attempting to review some documents and, of course, making your plans. What can you tell us about those who were arrested, if any charges, what information the police has given you as to why they were arrested and the petition behind it as the news has reported?
You know, it was very sinister that they were arrested in the first instance, because here were lawyers in a hotel gathered working on the petition And what was taken was so fundamental and so critical to any defense we were going to put forward. They took from EC8As, agent copies. These are copies of the where you document the count and document the votes at each unit. INEC has a copy, the police has a copy, every agent of every party has a copy. If those documents disappear, it becomes very difficult for you to prove in the first instance that you even had an election. What do you base your arguments on? And so because of the fundamental value of those documents, we had to press for them to be released. They arrested lawyers with their brief, and now a lawyer's brief and his document and his handwritten notes essentially tells the case that you are going to present. And so it was very sinister, the arrest in the first instance, and we had to spend the whole weekend with calls all over the place. But thankfully on Sunday, an INEC official was sent to come and inspect the documents and verify that those documents were actually agents' copies and not what they had claimed before, that they were forged documents being fabricated to falsify the results that had been announced. And these were just our agent copies. So the INEC verified that these were actual agents' copies and that they were original copies that were due us and should be in our possession. And once that was verified, everybody was released, including the documents.
All right, let's talk about the security situation, because you've accused the police in one instance of giving cover to thugs who attacked your party secretariat and even threatened to kill you, saying that they were led by an Inspector Mashalashi. There's also the question around whether or not, if the Election Petition Tribunal sits in Rivers State, if security would be guaranteed, and if you feel you would get a fair shake having the petition tribunal sit in Rivers State. So let me have you speak to those two things in terms of the security situation and even those who might be involved. A deputy speaker of the House, I believe, as well as a chairman of one of the local governments. In terms of the security and even the police that might be involved, what have you done in terms of getting some consequences for them? And do you think that if the petition tribunal sits in Rivers State, you will have a fair hearing?
You know, if it takes just going to pick up a CTC, which is a document every political party is entitled to, if the reaction to pick up a CTC means that PDP will blockade INEC, today they went and did, you won't believe it, juju in front of INEC. They brought a traditional priest and all of that who came in there doing sacrifices in front of INEC and doing incantations like libation. And then they were shooting. If that's what it takes to just collect a normal CTC, what do you think is going to happen when we're now dealing with tribunal matters that are so critical as to whether you win or lose? I don't think that the lawyers are safe. I don't think the judges are safe. I don't think a tribunal is safe in Rivers State. Right now, they are trying to frame me up in all sorts of things. They've threatened my life. They've gone to the police. I've heard all sorts of fantastic tales that have been made against my person. And there's definitely an assault. And I went to the IGP today, Inspector General of Police, and laid a complaint against an assassination attempt on me, threats to my life, escorts of police or of thugs by police officers. These are all things we saw. I saw it visibly and we captured it. There was, it was just bad. This was anarchy at its best.
So, Dr. Osage, we spoke about security before Mr. Cole joined us, and we also spoke to the potential of the Election Petition Tribunal moving out of Rivers State. And of course, you also mentioned that Governor Wike also got his mandates with a petition tribunal that was not sitting in the state. But is that really the best? What must we do to be able to ensure that the judges who sit on the tribunal, the police who are supposed to be unbiased and observers in all of this, what do we do to ensure that there's a fair shake for opposition and those who are contesting results in these situations, not having to move tribunals and petitions outside of the state simply for people to be able to contest results?
Yeah, my take on the challenge of having the tribunal continue to sit in Port Harcourt against the backdrop of the skirmishes that we are seeing today is that it does not represent a quantum leap from the situation and the conditions that prevailed in 2015 when Peter Sayed Dakuku also challenged the governorship election in Rivers State. And I think that is a minus for democracy. We should improve on our civility. We should improve on the way we conduct ourselves, especially as Democrats, after elections, before, during, and after elections. So it is not the best that at every point in time, a condition is created in such a way that people are unable to exercise their rights in the environment where they live in, seek justice without fear, and even those who are to adjudicate, cannot have their lives and their security guaranteed. That is not the best, under the circumstance. But the reality is that if the judges and the lawyers must perform their job, and the litigants must perform their job to look at the election that has taken place in Rivers State, it means that they have to create a conducive atmosphere for all the stakeholders to participate. And I think that it is more important to have safety of life and property of those who are going to be involved than to want to stick to the point that they must remain in that jurisdiction. So it looks like under the circumstance, the ideal thing to be done, and for all the parties to have some measure of, being on an equal standing, is to relocate the location, the locus at which the election tribunal is going to look into the elections. Petition before it.
All right, Mr. Cole. Governor Wike has similarly responded to you today during a speech at an event, and he said, I quote, "Have you seen where a candidate is going to INEC to collect CTC? What are your lawyers doing? What are your agents doing? Those are the duties of lawyers. What CTC do you want to collect? Can't people see the truth of the matter? You lost the election. You lost the election. Even if you cancel the election 25,000 times in this state, you cannot win us in this state," end quote. That's what Governor Wike said today. He seemingly was addressing you, talking about you going to having interviews with the press to be able to speak about this situation. How do you respond to him?
If you won fairly, then you have nothing to fear. Then the tribunal should be of no consequence to you. You should not be worried at all. You shouldn't barricade INEC and pay people 15,000 naira every day to come to INEC and barricade INEC till Friday to stop me from going there. The reason why I went there was because the duty of INEC to release those documents was not respected. There were court orders that were not respected. All of this was being ignored. Our lawyers were making absolutely no headway. And so I had to go. Between Friday and today, we've made a lot of headway, and that's because we were there. So Governor Wike should not be scared. He says he won a popular election. Everybody voted for him. The whole of Rivers State loves him. Nothing to worry about.
You've actually described democracy in Rivers State under this outgoing governor, Sim Wike, as a sham and a disgrace. What do you think is really happening in Rivers State under the governor's leadership?
Okay, so let's remember something. There's someone who ran and contested against me. During the campaign, he never came out, never came for a debate. No one heard from him. He never once sat down on any channel, any TV channel to talk about what his plans were. The person who ran that election is Governor Wike, who should not be running the election. Today, the election is over. The only person we're hearing talking is Governor Wike. He's not running an election. This is an election should be an election between myself and Sim Fubara. Where is Sim Fubara in all of this? So what do I think is really going on? I think Wike is putting a puppet in. He's trying to run for a third term. He's trying to ensure that he has continuity in how he has access to state funds. And there are just too many sinister things going on. He's done. His time is up. He should move on and allow Sim to come. Today, we should be talking to Sim Fubara. We don't see him. We don't hear from him. We don't know what his plans are. We don't know anything that Sim has planned for the people of Rivers State.
I want to take you back to the elections and the results, which is what is at the heart of this situation you're now currently facing. You're looking to challenge the results of the March 18 election in court. What happened surrounding the elections that you believe may have impacted the results and should show results in your favor?
Well, without giving out too much of our strategy going to court, what was evident on election day was that you had intimidation, you had vote buying, you had hijack of polling stations, and you had essential hijack and kidnap of entire polling units, electoral officers, SPOs, POs, INEC officials, ad hoc staff. So we saw this, and we saw a lot of it aided and abetted by the police. We saw local government chairmen coming in. We saw councillors, 7 councillors, walking in and carrying away ballot boxes and things like that. So we have enough evidence, which people saw, that there was a problem with the elections on that day.
Dr. Sage, I'll bring you in as we start wrapping up. We've heard from the Minister of Information and Communication that this was the freest and fairest election in Nigerian history, particularly thanks to the BVAS machine, the bimodal machine. And in terms of what we've seen, there's a number of petitions that are going from the presidential all the way down to the state level. We've seen violence also with this election. But when you look at it as a whole, 24 years of a democracy, the leading economy on the continent, the largest democratic exercise that also held on the African continent, costing us over 300 billion naira. When you look at the results and the contestations that we're seeing now, what picture does it really paint for you of Nigeria's democracy and where we stand?
Well, the election of 2023, particularly the presidential election, has come with a number of trappings and surprises. First, it is the first time in our 24-year democratic journey where we had an election that was hotly contested by no less people who have paid their dues in their respective callings and endeavors. In this last election, the 4 leading candidates in this election were persons who have held political offices that were not less than that of a governor. So in other words, we had political party candidates that were in their own rights, very competitive and very strong, in their respective enclaves. So comparing this election with previous election is a very hard nut to crack. And depending on where you stand, you are likely to see the cup as half full or half empty. I believe that one of the things that this election has thrown up is the fact that it has been the most competitive election ever since our 24 years of democracy. And it has been one election where the enthusiasm of the masses, attained the highest peak, even though that did not eventually reflect in the turnout of voters. Only 27% represented turnout of voters in a 93 million voter registration, that took place. And that was quite sad. So, as far as I'm concerned, I believe that democratically speaking, we are making some progress. We have been able to organize an election. However, no matter how flawed people may think, we were able to organize an election. A winner was declared. What is left now is for the court, to look at the complaints that have arisen. And I think that is democratic process at play. And I believe that that is a substantial leap from where we are coming from. And that again is the reason why those who are calling for different means of recruiting leadership or changing government should not have a place in our democratic system. Because if we have subscribed to the Constitution, to the effect that Section 1, subsection 2 of the Constitution says that no other means of change of government shall be undertaken by any person or group of persons, except in accordance with the Constitution. And what the Constitution emphasizes is that there has to be an election prior to the end of the tenure of a particular government. So for those who are crying for interim administration, for military takeover, they are simply not Democrats. And they are people who do not believe in the rule of law as a stratagem, for government change and leadership recruitment. So no matter what we think, and no matter the perspective from which we look at this last election, we have made progress. And I believe that that progress will be consolidated by the time the petitioners go through the full hall of the judicial system to get a final judgment. It has happened in Kenya. It has happened in Malawi. It's not only happening in Nigeria, where elections are hotly contested. Indeed, since 1999, there is no presidential election that has not been challenged. The difference in this case now is that rather than having a 2-horse race. We had about a 4-horse race where 2 presidential candidates are challenging the declaration of the president-elect. So that is the difference. So I believe that we are on course. I call on everybody to ensure that we stay on this course and allow the rule of law to prevail, not the sentiments that each and every one of us express. And that is not what the law says.
Thank you so much. That's my final word from you. But Mr. Cole, a very final word from you now. Expectations that you will get the CTC documents or necessary documents from Abuja, and also expecting documents as well from Rivers. But time is also running fast. So what should we be expecting the next few days from you and your camp?
Yeah, so definitely we'll be working all night. We'll push to ensure that we make the deadline. I'm sure we'll make the deadline. But as a parting word, I would like to understand how somebody who is of a legal background, like our governor, Nyesom Wike, will be the same one subverting the law. We need to stop this. Nigeria, at the end of the day, must progress, and we must progress properly. And so today, I'm calling on everyone, especially in Rivers State, that sheath your swords and let us work to develop a more peaceful and lasting Rivers State.
All right, Tonye Cole, thank you so much. Tonye Cole, the APC governorship candidate from Rivers State, thank you for joining me this evening. And we know you're coming out of that meeting with INEC officials in Abuja. Dr. Samson Osage, legal practitioner, as well as the chairman of the African Bar Association Nigerian Forum. Thank you so much for being my guest tonight.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right.